Hello, this is Chad Harris, Manager of Curriculum Development at Fortis, and this is an example of a storyline lesson, a very basic one from one of our accounting courses. Just to demonstrate basically how we want Storyline to look, although this is in Storyline1, so we'd like to take it up a notch in terms of the use of these animated or cartoon characters. Real images would be much better and aimed at a professional student, an adult student. But just as an example of some of the interactivity in a storyline lesson, an ideal storyline lesson. This is a very simple drag and drop. Example of a formative assessment that we would like to have built into our storyline lessons. Formative assessments can be a little bit more complex than this, but we like it so that the student has to complete these before moving on to the next slide. That ensures that they actually do them. Also, this could be a little bit text heavy. We might aim for a little bit less text in the frame, perhaps more frames. These are links to YouTube videos on particular topics, or they're links to
Meet Susan. Susan
videos
is
provided
for the budgeting and
by the publisher.
For our company.
The process of translating a business's economic events into the accounting language and writing it in their books is called transaction analysis. Here is an example of using transaction analysis. This is Jim. Jim has $10. Jim wants to turn his $10.
Okay, those open in new windows. Here's an example of
In this
some
learning
material from a
objective,
publisher.
we will analyze the effect of accounting transactions on the accounting equation. All accounting transactions must be recorded in the accounting information system. To understand the nature of recording transactions, it is best to start with the fundamental accounting equation. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. The equation states that a company's assets must always equal the sum of its liabilities and equity. This means that any change to the equation must be accompanied by a second change. Every accounting transaction must affect at least two accounts. This requirement is known as the dual nature of accounting. If a transaction increases an asset account, for the accounting equation to stay in balance, a transaction must either decrease another asset account or increase a liability or equity account. Let's look at a few examples of how accounting transactions affect the accounting equation. In transaction 1, because Circle receives cash of $15,000, assets are increasing. Circle's equity is also increasing because investors have contributed cash for an ownership interest in the company.
So this is a good example because the student can start or stop or move forward and use this for review purposes. So any kind of link outs or call outs to these types of additional resources is definitely ideal. These open in separate windows again. More information, lecture type content. This is an example of a different type of formative assessment where the students are asked to create a journal and they can check. Another example of a video in YouTube.
Hello, and welcome to an excerpt from Study Unit 4 of GLIME's 11th Study Unit Financial Accounting Made Easy course. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Cameron. In this 3-minute video, we will explain debits and credits by building upon the basic accounting equation, which is assets equals liabilities.
We'll push this forward a little bit.
Credited. Consider the expanded accounting equation. Assets plus expenses equal liabilities plus equity plus revenue. Assets and expenses are on the left side of the equation, and
We're very open to linking out to these types of freely available online resources. And that's an example. It's about a 3-minute video. I'm sort of going through this a little quickly, but this lesson is a good example of something that's between 20 and 30 minutes for the student to go through. It's not necessarily an interactive slide, but has easy to read graphic elements. Another example, a little bit text heavy. Here's another journal entry check assignment. There's 2 parts to this. Flows very smoothly for the student. Another video.
In this learning objective,
This is again
you will record
provided
and
by a
post
publisher.
accounting transactions and prepare a trial balance and financial statements. When an accounting transaction is recorded in the general journal or journalized, the amounts recorded in the debit and credit columns are transferred to the debit and credit columns of the respective T accounts in the ledger. This process of copying or transferring the information from the journal to the ledger is called posting and results in up-to-date account balances. Companies look to the ledger for balances in their accounts. A ledger is a collection of accounts and their balances. While most companies have various types of ledgers containing different accounts, the most basic type of ledger is the general ledger. The general ledger is really nothing more than a collection of T accounts for a company, which notice
Just
that
to demonstrate
after
how the
a
student
trial
can
balance
push
serves
this
several
forward.
functions. First
Give you
and
some
foremost,
examples of some of the
following
content.
slides show transactions for Circle film transactions and demonstrate the recording of transactions in the journal. Step 1, accounts affected. Step 1, accounts affected. Circle is receiving a camera and some memory cards, so both equipment and supplies are increasing. Circle is paying with cash.
I'm going to jump forward a few slides.
Step 1, accounts affected. Circle is paying cash, so cash is decreasing. This reduction in cash results from wages paid to employees, so wage expense is increasing. Step 2, debits and credits. Cash is an asset, so credit the cash account to decrease it. Expenses decrease equity, so debit the wage expense account to increase it. Steps 3 and 4. The slide shows the recorded journal entry, followed by the posted ledger information. Step 1, accounts affected. Circle is paying cash, so cash is decreasing. The cash payment is a distribution of company assets to the owners, so dividends are increasing. Step 2, debits and
Okay,
credits.
you get the idea there. I'll just push forward to the end here. Some review slides are always very helpful. Then we have an example here of a self-quiz, another formative assessment given at the end of the lesson to reinforce learning. I'm just going to randomly answer these. See how well I do. Student can view the summary and then retake the quiz. So formative assessments work best if the student is allowed to take it several times. I did rather poorly, so I would want to take it over again and drill until I've gotten some of these right. We like quizzes that give some kind of feedback based on right or wrong answers. We typically build those into the Blackboard platform itself, but any link outs that work in a transparent way are also welcome. Again, that's an opens in its own window. And as you can see, it's very easy for the student to use. Link through the course. So again, this is an example of a storyline lesson from one of our accounting courses and is an example of a 20 to 30 minute weekly lesson. All right, thank you very much.